I'd like to call the February 18th, 2025 regular council meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did have a moment of silence at the public hearing because it was the first meeting since Doug Wilson, former mayor, Doug Wilson's passing, but I'd like to have another moment of silence just since this is the first regular meeting. May he rest in peace. Roll call, please.
Myers.
Here.
DeShawn.
Here.
Shireman is absent. Moritz.
Here.
Sherrick. Here. Hickman. Here. Me.
Here.
Minutes from February 4th, 2025 regular council meeting are here. Anybody have any questions on them?
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded to approve. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Granting permission for visitors to speak. If you'd like to address council, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. Thank you, Mr. President. I am totally disgusted in the Finance Committee and its chairman. This wasn't a town hall meeting at all. More like a dog and pony show because someone or many others of the administration and council knew that the water fund was going into the red. Mr. Myers told me before the meeting as chairman, I will set the rules for this. So why didn't you stick to what the true meeting of this scheduled meeting was for? Yet you allowed this to happen on your watch. Was this all planned out in the beginning? You should have called another special meeting for the water fund. And let the citizens ask the government body on the budget issues and the ways to save money. This was a big mistake. You failed in your duties as chairman and as a member of this council, just like others who sit in this chamber. The auditor's reports about the fund has been going on since early December 2024, and the auditor has been making statements about this, but no one's listening to this message. I still don't believe that members of the Finance Committee and the chairman were not told about this before December 17th meeting. How many serial meetings and round-robin meetings were conducted in December within City Hall? Someone or others are not telling the truth. Even your packets from the auditor's report stated the water fund tanked. The Service Safety Director, Tommy Starner, didn't have the common decency or ethics to put the pay raises in the packet because he didn't want the citizens to know about this. More lies and deception. And you wanted to give him an $8,000 raise? Didn't any of you read about this before you voted on the raises? Why didn't any of you question or put a stop to this? Now, you still want to give the council clerk a raise and $1 thank you. Is everything in order in this office? Is the clerk doing her jobs the way it's supposed to be done and all the journals are up to date? No more raises. Put a pay freeze in effect now before this gets out of hand. Bucyrus is in the biggest mess possible. Is this why the Service Safety Director raised the water rates? Needing money, we will make the citizens pay for all this? This is the type of attitude that's out of control and needs to stop. Remember, you were voted in by the people, not to steal us blind. In closing, the mayor, the auditor, chairman of the Finance Committee, and some other members of council need to resign, and the Service Safety Director should be fired. Your ability to handle these issues and problems of the city is above you. You don't want to be truthful or honest. Your integrity with this community is none. Why don't you want to listen to the citizens? An investigation should be done and not in-house. No one at this time can truly be trusted with this. The state should come in, take over for the city until we get out of this situation and everything gets worked out. Many citizens, including myself, do not trust you. Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Robert Taylor, 411 Plymouth Street. Well, I mean, I had something wrote up to kind of respond to some comments from the town hall that wasn't a town hall, but I decided to forgo talking much about that. Other than, for future reference, if we're going to advertise a town hall, let's have a town hall. You know, we didn't really need a 2-hour seminar on bad business and government inefficiency. We can watch C-SPAN and see that all day long. And I don't care who's to blame for that. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't think that's what was advertised to the citizens, and it definitely was not, you know, what was advertised wasn't presented. But, I mean, I had a list of questions for that evening too, mainly about the EMS service, and how all that's going and how it was all planned and all that. Maybe at some point in time, want somebody that actually knows can answer those questions for me, off record, whatever. But I had been in contact with Representative McLean about legislation for us to recoup some of our out-of-town tax money. In his words, that's going to be an uphill fight. The Democrats control the big cities. They hold the power for the most part and the money. They said that the League of Mayors has been fighting that fight for quite a number of years. And it's not going to be easy to get the big cities to relinquish any of that money. So, for my opinion, short-term solution for this is probably to reduce or eliminate the out-of-town tax credit. I don't know what other option you have other than starting to cut safety forces. You know, and there's a big pushback. I've talked to some people or made some statements about that, and there are people who do push back. They don't want to cut the safety forces, and they don't want to eliminate the tax credit. Well, I don't know what other option there is besides those two to alleviate pressure on the general fund. For short term. Long term, there's things we could look at, like the next time the contracts come up, maybe looking at the healthcare as a healthcare savings account. For one, that's going to promote personal responsibility in people's health. Do they already have that? Are you sure?
Positive, I negotiated it myself.
Okay. I mean, you're talking to safety forces, they have that type of account? That's healthcare?
Everybody got HSAs.
You do? Oh, okay, it's new. Well, thank you for informing me. Well, let's hope that reduces the cost. I mean, that's the intent, right? And then I had a question about the billing for the soft billing that comes in through EMS. Is that money shared with the police department, or is that only for fire and EMS?
It's shared. So
It does get shared?
The general fund money is transferred to the safety forces, and then they're both in there. So
Okay.
it goes to fund both of them.
All right, well, thank you. That's all I got.
Any other public participation? Moving on, we have no communications and petitions. So the standing committee reports with plating committee, Mr. Me.
We had a public hearing on Wednesday, the 12th at 6 p.m. We had 2 opponents to the pond, 1 opponent, 1 proponent, and 1 opponent to the pond. 1 for, 1 against. There was a lot of interest in the committee, so from now on, when I have legislation or ordinances, everybody's going to get a copy, because I think a public hearing is just to hear the public. The resurfacing is not intended to run businesses away. It's to maintain our integrity as a city, so we attract the 30 and 40-hour dollar jobs and not the 20-hour dollar jobs, because we have plenty of those. I hope you understand that's the intent, and it's a fine line. I need everybody's input on this legislation when I'm putting it together. It's in my report.
Mr. Mee, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Mee? My question, Mr. Mee, the resurfacing, you're referring to the blacktop and the concrete for parking lots?
Yes.
Is, are you saying that if we have the harder surface, that we're gonna get $30 an hour jobs? That's gonna attract
I'm saying we're gonna attract better jobs if we look better. So it's just like the trees in the tree lawn. It was explained to me a long time ago that if we have the trees in between the sidewalks and the streets, we're gonna look better. And so we wanna maintain our integrity while we're attracting jobs. That's my intent for the resurfacing.
Mr. Mead, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Mee? Public Lands and Buildings Chair, Ms. Sherrick.
I have nothing at this time.
Any questions for Public Lands and Buildings? Health and Safety Chair, Mrs. DeShawn.
At our February 6, 25 committee meeting, discussion was held on Chapter 711, Solicitors and Peddlers, Section 381.04, Taxi Cab Insurance Requirements, and the appointment of Property Maintenance and Appeals Board members. End of my report.
Any questions for Health and Safety Chair? Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Myers.
I have no report.
Any question for the Finance Committee Chair? Economic Development Chair, Mr. Hickman.
I have no report at this time.
Any questions for Economic Development Chair? Service Committee Chair, Mr. Moritz.
I attended the Airport Commission meeting yesterday, very informative. Progress is moving forward with everything they have going on there. There's going to be another meeting Monday, same time, same place, next Monday. And I believe there's actually pictures of the building and stuff this time at that meeting. That's all I have right now for anything in service.
Yeah, Mr. Moritz is correct. There is a Airport Commission meeting at 6 p.m. Monday, this coming Monday, and it's regarding the blueprints, design plans for the future airport terminal. I also attended the meeting last night, and do you want to tell them about what they decided to do? Or you want me to tell them?
Staggering the,
Well, that's where they'd like to go.
right, I thought they were going to give us a letter, and then we're going to bring it up.
Yeah, they're gonna give us a letter. I told them to try to have it in by tomorrow at 2 p.m. so Miranda can have it in the packet for the committee meetings Thursday, but apparently the ordinance says that the terms are supposed to be staggered, and the way it is right now, that was first created in like 1974 or 75, so like 50 years ago. And they've lost track of the staggering because, one, they really weren't keeping any minutes, so they don't know whose stagger is supposed to be what year. So with advice of the law director here, they're recommending that for the rest of this year, the terms stay as they are with the appointments, and they'd like council to pass a resolution stating that, which is what's going to be discussed on Thursday per the letter, and then they're going to come up with an idea between now and the end of the year on how they want which seats to be staggered, and then they'll be coming back to us again. But they wanted to keep it consistent for the rest of this year because of the new terminal building with the grant, and they didn't want to cause any disruptions with that, with the FAA and the grants and all that. So more will be discussed Thursday. So any other questions for Service Committee? Special Ad Hoc Committee for Rules of Procedures, Mrs. DeShawn.
As previously reported, the Special Ad Hoc Committee met on December the 17th, 24, and at the request of Law Director Gobrick, decided to pass the Rules of Procedure and the Codified Ordinance Chapters 111 and 113 over to Attorney Gobrick to start from scratch. Gobrick will prepare new drafts for the committee to review and discuss. A reminder that he stated this is not something that will be done immediately. It is a big project that will take some time. At the February 4th, 25 special ad hoc, or no, at the February 4th, 25 council meeting, Attorney Gobrick stated that he will provide to the committee members each section as he completes it. End of my report.
Any questions for Mrs. DeShawn? Special Ad Hoc Committee for Property Maintenance, Mr. May.
We had a property maintenance meeting Thursday, February 13th at 3:30. Due to a member stepping down for personal reasons, we did not have a quorum, so we had some discussion, but no decisions were made because there wasn't a voting quorum. Adam Frizzell has asked to be a member of this committee. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to have Adam Frizzell.
I'll second.
Mr. Mee has made a motion to appoint Adam Frizzell to the Property Maintenance Ad Hoc Committee.
Do we have to do that in the meeting? Or is that through council to add people?
Council originally appoints.
Yeah, the council points.
Mr. Hickman seconded that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Frizzell has been appointed to the Ad Hoc Committee for Property Maintenance. Any other questions for the Ad Hoc Committee for Property Maintenance? Special Ad Hoc Committee for Zoning Map, Mr. Mee.
We had a zoning meeting today, February 18th, 3:30. We went through 1147, appeals and variances, and we went through 1149, conditions and uses, and 1157, nonconformities. The next meeting is March 13th at 4 p.m.
Any questions for the Zoning Ad Hoc Committee? Traffic Commission, the mayor is not with us tonight. So I will move on to the motion to accept committee reports collectively.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made the motion, Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Moritz has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Report of city officers. The mayor is not with us tonight, and I do not believe there is there a report in here?
No.
There is no report from the mayor. The service director is not with us tonight. Is there a service director's report in here?
Nope.
There's no service director's report, so we will move on to the law director and his report, Mr. Gobrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. We got the audit back from the Community Improvement Corporation. It's attached to the report. I won't read all of that. However, I've worked a lot behind the scenes with the courts, and I think it's time to refer the topic of a criminal ordinance package to the Health and Safety Committee. I think it'd be in our best interest to have the opportunity to charge people under our own ordinance due to the way that the fine distribution works after a conviction. It's pretty complicated, and we can get that into that in the committee. However, I've looked at other municipalities. I've defended municipal ordinances as a defense attorney. I think it's a good idea, so I'd like to refer that to Health and Safety. And I would also like to thank and recognize the Bucyrus Police Department, who went out in the cold last night and were able to seize 6.48 grams of methamphetamine last night while most of us were sleeping. Then that's the end of my report.
Need a motion to make the referral for criminal ordinance package to Health and Safety Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion. Mr. Me, were you the second?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? And what?
Abstain.
You want that noted in the minutes?
I said it out loud.
Okay, Ms. Sherrick has abstained. Any questions for the law director? Seeing no questions for the law director, I'm going to move on to, we have an auditor's report dated February 18th from Ms. Lewis.
To begin, income tax collections are down as a whole in January 2025 compared to January 2024. It has fallen by 11% or $73,063.47. This affects the general, safety, and street funds. I have no referrals for tonight's meeting. I am aware and have read the FreeWire article that came out on February 16, 2025. I did want to clarify some sections. She, Clarissa Slater, obtained water usage data from the utility department through a public records request. After analyzing the numbers, she discovered a $599,000 discrepancy. Ms. Slater has been putting in a lot of work looking into the utility rates that the city has in place. But I want to make very clear that she did not find an accounting discrepancy. She believes she has found a fairer way of charging customers based on usage, which she believes could potentially bring in an additional $599,000. Executive session, November 19th. According to members of council in a closed-door executive session, the city's auditor, Kaylee Lewis, was asked directly whether sufficient funds were available to cover a proposed $4.25 per hour raise for city workers. At the time, officials in the administration assured the council that the necessary funds were available, a claim that would later be categorized as misleading. Conveniently, this was a closed-door meeting that had no recorded minutes. I was asked if it was in the budget. I told council that I was budgeting for it at the time, that in order to afford it, we would have to find other places in the budget to cut. Also note the date of November 19th. Neither administration nor I were aware of the issue at this point in time. So that we were misleading about the problem we didn't know existed yet is a stretch. I called local government services on December 5th, and she came to speak to me on December 5th. Is the money to support the ASME raises in the budget? It is in the 2025 budget. We assumed that if it were a big deal, they would have made a bigger deal out of it. I did say state audit came, and it's just, and you guys might not be aware of this, but typically if the state auditor comes physically, it's kind of a big deal. So that was an oversight on my part. You know, typically if it's a question, it's a phone call. In my December 17th report, I stated a meeting with the state auditor, local government services representative. December 17th didn't raise alarm bells enough that he assumed it was, I don't know, $10,000 in the red or something, and now I'm hearing it's over $1 million potentially in the red. Despite this, during this, and then a second quote, despite this, during the subsequent budgeting debate, council members were led to believe that the discrepancy was minimal, reported as only a $5,000 to $10,000 error. That is simply not true. I have never reported any numbers as only a $5,000 to $10,000 error. It did not happen. You can go through the minutes. In fact, my December 17th report referenced a water project reimbursement where the expected revenue wasn't budgeted properly due to incorrect information. In 2024, the bids that council allowed the service director go out to bid for were $514,095 in Resolution 217-2024, $750,000 in Resolution 205-2024, $270,000 in Resolution 236-2024, $395,000 in Resolution 237-2024. Those sums are far greater than $5,000 to $10,000. Never did I think that council members who are in attendance when those resolutions are read and voted on or sign their names on legislation thought that the water line projects would run $5,000 to $15,000. That amount doesn't reach the threshold of something administration would have to approach council about. I will not deny that there was miscommunication between myself and council. Follow-up questions were not asked. I would have explained more had there been. Critics argued that the issue had been deliberately downplayed for political reasons. I do not stand to gain anything politically by withholding information. I reread my December 17th report and I stand by it. I believe what I stated accurately reflected the meeting I had with local government services. It stated, "Now specifics were not given because 2024 will need to go through the gap conversion process before any solid numbers, which we have always contracted with LGS to do. The state auditor did take a quick look over some reports, the detailed trial balance, statement of cash position, and was not overly worried, but stated we needed to correct course in 2025. We need to halt large water projects, reduce expenses, and attempt to increase revenues in the Waterworks Fund. So far, that has been done. Truthfully, the faster I can provide council and the public with the information, the happier I will be. Finally, I did want to add that people have been messaging on my personal Facebook page. Most of the public is not aware, and that's fine. I'm sure no harm was meant at all. But that is not the appropriate place to discuss city business, as that opens my personal Facebook page up to public records requests. If that happens, and I didn't know this before the fall conference for OML, if that happens, you should be taking screenshots of it and then emailing it to your city email account, just so there's record of it, but then that doesn't open your personal Facebook or personal Facebook messages to those requests. I thought that was just a good piece of information we should have. And that is it. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for the auditor? Are we gonna be discussing this water fund shortage on the service committee meeting Thursday more in depth? Do you believe? I'd like to stay on top of it, because I'd like to.
We can discuss it, I mean, I can have Miranda have it for discussion.
Would it be service or finance?
Be finance?
That'd be finance now.
I mean, it hasn't been technically referred, so it would need referred in all reality.
Could we get a referral to refer to, do we want to refer to both, or, because there is some issues with the water line going under Southern with the railroad tracks there, major leak and no money to fix it. Southern, by Eagle Crusher.
Yes.
Because we might have to take a loan out, from my understanding, to fix this. So refer to both committees, or refer just the,
How do you want to classify the topic?
Waterworks Fund.
Do you feel that safely covers us?
I think that's broad.
That's really broad, yeah.
I'll make that motion to refer the Waterworks Fund to service and finance.
Mr. Myers has made a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Mr. Moritz has seconded. All in favor? All opposed? It has been referred. Any other questions for the auditor? We have a treasurer's report dated January 2025. Need a motion to accept and file.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made a motion. Mr. Myers seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's been referred, or I'm sorry, it's been filed. We have a police chief monthly report dated January 2025.
I'll make a motion to accept and file.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made the motion to accept and file. Mr. Myers seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We also have a fire report dated January 2025.
Make a motion to accept and file.
I'll second it.
Ms. Sherrick has made a motion. Mr. Moritz has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Need a motion to accept all city officers' reports.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made the motion. Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Visitors' input regarding reports of standing/special committees and city officers. Is there any visitor input?
Logan Beeman, Freewire. I just wanted to say on that article, I know when things like this happen, the first thing everyone wants to do is point fingers. And I just want to say, I think That's not what that article was about. It wasn't about pointing the finger at Kaylee. It wasn't about pointing the finger at the current administration. It wasn't pointing the finger at previous administrations. And there's going to be a follow-up article. We are looking at, I mean, I've gotten information that goes all the way back to 1977 when they first brought up the reservoir. And they said, I think bills were like $30 on average back then, and they were going up to like $45 on average. And they told everyone, you know, when it's paid off in 45 years, your rates will go back. Well, I mean, obviously, they still haven't, and they never will. I mean, we know that now. But the person who was telling me this, it was funny listening to him because it's the same bill of goods that we were sold about the water treatment, the same bill of goods that we got about running water lines to Sulphur, Nevada, Osceola, all of it. It will make money later. It will be so Bucyrus can survive later. But we paid off the reservoir, what, 8-10 years ago now? Did that 50% hike go back? No. It's just paying off something different now, you know? So, I don't want people that just heard Kaylee and then go to read that article to think that I know there's finger pointing going on, but that's not what I want that article to be. I just want to say that it's a very systemic problem that we're looking at here. And it's been going on for over 50 years now, and something needs to be done about it, so thanks.
Can I just comment? I want you to know, me referencing article here, I did not think that was your intent in the article overall, so.
Any other public participation?
Robert Taylor, 411 Plymouth. Well, since we're talking about the water lines again, is there an end to that? I mean, clearly it's not making money. I mean, I know, has anyone discussed this with the administration? Are we just going to keep running water lines all over the county and not making money on them? Or are we ever going to look at not doing that anymore? And also, I mean, we've expanded the water lines all over the county. We've expanded EMS and fire all over the county. It may be time to start expanding our tax base via annex. I mean, you can't, because everything that we're expanding is falling on the backs of the taxpayers of the city of Bucyrus. And most of that is going to be the out-of-town workers. So if we're going to keep expanding things, we might want to go ahead and expand the tax base. And we can scream jobs, jobs, jobs all we want. Nobody's got a magic wand to make that happen. So we've got a couple options to look at there. So,
Mr. Myers?
To answer your question, since they're not here, I believe this current administration has already signaled their desire to not do any further water line expansion outside the city limits. When Mayor Truca was sworn in, he made a decision to pull a project that the previous administration had on going towards Sulphur Springs and rather reinvest that money in the city limits. So I think to that question, I think they've already signaled exactly what you said.
yeah, well, thank you.
Can I just add to that, though? If you do see projects still going on, they're with grant money, so not from the water fund money, or they are from, like, taps are still going in. I believe Osceola is still going on. All that is paid for with money from the county.
That's tax money too.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Any other public participation? Seeing none, we have consideration of proposed legislation for the first time.
Proposed resolution 206-2025, it's material bids. Authorizing and directing the Service Safety Director of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio to advertise for bids and to enter into contracts for the purchase of various materials and supplies and declaring an emergency.
That's the one that might need pulled.
Right. We can either do it as amended, or it can go back to council, or back to committee. Probably should go back to committee. It's cleaner that way.
I prefer the cleaner way.
I would like to make a motion to pull that legislation from tonight's agenda and send it back to the service committee for further consideration.
I'll second that.
And the reason being, if the public's not aware, is because there were substantial changes made to it after it left committee.
Mr. Myers made the motion to pull 206-2025 and send it back to committee. Mr. Moritz has seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That one's going back.
Proposed Resolution 207-2025, it's the ODOT for State Route 4 North. The following resolution enacted by the City of Bucyrus of Crawford County, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as a city in the matter of the stated described project. Proposed Resolution 208-2025 is the Bratwurst Festival street closures. Authorizing and directing the Public Service Safety Director of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio to ban all vehicular traffic, including bicycles and skateboards, except authorized emergency personnel for the 2025 Bucyrus Bratwurst Festival, according to the schedule set forth herein. Further authorizing and directing the Chief of Police to make necessary arrangements for the rerouting of traffic on federal, state, and local highways and roadways.
Your motion accepted as first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Has been accepted as a first reading. Public participation. Any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for first time. Don't have any public participation. Consideration of proposed legislation for the second time.
We have proposed ordinance 7-2025. It's the reimbursements. Reimbursing sufficient monies in the amount of 20% from the sewage disposal fund, 20% from the waterworks fund, 20% from the solid waste management fund, and 20% from the stormwater utility fund for the benefit of the city's general fund to defray 2024 operation costs of the City of Bucyrus and Bucyrus municipal offices, and authorizing and directing the city auditor to draw thereupon and declaring an emergency. Proposed ordinance 10-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 704, which is medical marijuana. An ordinance amending and supplementing Part 7 of the Bucyrus City Ordinances and creating Chapter 704 entitled State Licensed Medical Marijuana Cultivators, Processors, Retail Dispensaries, and Testing Laboratories under Part 7 entitled Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. Proposed ordinance 11-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Chapter 705, Adult Use. An ordinance amending and supplementing Part 7 of the Bucyrus City Ordinances and creating Chapter 705 entitled State Licensed Adult Use Marijuana Cultivators, Processors, Retail Dispensaries, and Testing Laboratories under Part 7 entitled Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio.
Your motion accepted as second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public participation. Any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for a second time.
Mr. President, may I ask a question at this time?
Yeah.
Auditor, I just wanted to verify or clarify. We had talked, and I don't remember the answer, and I wanted to make sure the answer was clear, on the reimbursements. Well, the reason that it didn't pass on its first reading was, my concern was, are we able to make those disbursements out of a fund that could potentially be in the negative? And I kind of wanted you to just give that answer so that we know how to vote properly.
Yes, so I reached out to the local government services. Yes, it is possible to still do that. And though she said it would probably more fall to the law director to probably explain the information she was able to provide me, but once again, she is not a legal, she's not a lawyer. Because 2024, it's legislated that there should be the reimbursement, if that makes sense, because this is a reimbursement for 2024, because that legislation was on the books for 2024, it should happen, if that makes sense. Or else it could be an audit remark or something like that.
Thank you.
Any other Questions? Public participation? Seeing none. Consideration of proposed legislation for the final time.
Proposed ordinance 4-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Section 905.01, sidewalks. An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 905 of the Bucyrus Codified Ordinances entitled Sidewalks under Section 905.01 entitled Notification, Discovery, and Written Notice of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. Proposed ordinance 5-2025, appointment of auditor to the Board of Control. Amending and supplementing Title V of the Bucyrus Codified Ordinances entitled Administrative and establishing Chapter 131 entitled Control Board Composition of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. Proposed Resolution 243-2024, amend Resolution Number 202-2024, amending Resolution Number 202-2024, appointing Miranda G. Wise to fill the position of Bucyrus Council Clerk on a full-time 40-hour-per-week basis from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 at an hourly figure of $25.25, together with the available health insurance and sick leave entitlements, etc., for all non-union, non-elective, full-time 40-hour-per-week city employees. Further, that the clerk's 40-hour per week shall include her attendance at all regularly scheduled and specially called council meetings and regularly scheduled and specially called committee meetings. Further, the clerk shall be paid compensation of 1 1/2 times the basic hourly rate for hours worked over the 40 hours when authorized by the council president. Said appointment commencing retroactively to January 1st, 2025.
Need a motion to accept as a final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made a motion, Mr. Moritz seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public participation. Any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for the final time. Seeing none, we are referring back to originating committee, ordinance 4-2025 back to plating, ordinance 5-2025 back to service, ordinance 7-2025 back to finance, proposed ordinance 10-2025 back to health and safety, proposed ordinance 11-2025 back to health and safety,
206.
proposed resolution 243-2024 back to finance, proposed resolution 207-2025 referred back to service, proposed resolution 208-2025 referred back to health and safety, committee report on pending legislation, plating.
Proposed ordinance 4-2025, BCO section 905.01, sidewalks, favorable.
Service.
Proposed ordinance 5-2025, appointing auditor to Board of Control, favorable. Proposed resolution 207-2025, ODOT State Route 4 North, favorable.
Finance.
Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 7-2025, the reimbursements. Finance is favorable to proposed resolution 243-2024, amending resolution 202-2024.
Health and safety.
Health and safety is favorable to proposed ordinance number 10-2025, dealing with the creation of Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 704, medical marijuana. Health and safety is also favorable to proposed ordinance number 11-2025, dealing with the creation of Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 705, adult use marijuana. Oh. And Health and Safety Committee is favorable to proposed resolution number 208-2025, the Bratwurst Festival street closures.
Further consideration of pending legislation. Ordinance 7-2025, which is the reimbursements. For the second and third reading of proposed ordinance 7-2025, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the reading of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
Mr. President, just to clarify your request, it's only waiving the third reading since it had a second reading tonight.
You are correct. I will read it again. For the third reading of proposed ordinance 7-2025, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the reading of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion. Ms. Sherrick seconded.
Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 7-2025?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion. Ms. Sherrick seconded.
Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Ordinance 7-2025 is duly adopted. Ordinance 4-2025, which is the sidewalks, is up for final reading, so do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 4-2025?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded.
Myers?
Yes.
Moritz?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
DeShawn?
No.
Shireman is absent.
Ordinance 4-2025 is duly adopted. And then we have ordinance 5-2025, appointment of auditor to board of control. It is up for final reading. So do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 5-2025?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded.
Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Ordinance 5-2025 is duly adopted. Okay, we have for a final reading, this is the council clerk's pay. Resolution 243-2024. Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed resolution 243-2024?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded.
Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
DeShawn?
No.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Resolution 243-2024 is duly adopted. Old and unfinished business. Does anybody have any old and unfinished business?
Mr. President, I'd like to bring up a discussion to have a vote to accept the YMCA. If anybody wants to make bring it up and talk about it to see if we want to accept that or not. As a roll call vote, if we do decide to accept or not accept it.
Okay, so,
Mr. President, I believe the proper place for that would be in the Public Lands and Building Committee.
so what, here's what's going on here. So normally, an acceptance of property can be done without council's approval. It does not require legislation. But since it is a elected official's property, to accept the donation, we're being asked for just a voice vote of council. There's no legislation required. Hence why it's not in committee, why it's not being done in committee. It's just being asked right now on the council floor. So are you making a motion, Mr. Moritz, to have a roll call vote for council to accept the
For discussion,
donation?
yes.
Accept the donation?
Accept the donation, and that way we can open up for discussion.
And if we get a second, then we can have discussion.
Second.
It has been made the motion by Mr. Moritz to accept the donation of the YMCA property. Mr. Me has seconded. Is there any discussion?
Is this really a wise move?
What's that?
Is this a wise move? So what you're saying is, we don't have to have legislation. If we vote on this, we're giving them permission to just take it and
He's basically throwing it into council's decision so that it's not the mayor accepting his own donation. So it's a proper thing to do
Law Director, could you clarify?
per the law director?
Yeah, that's exactly how that works. So typically, anyone can donate anything to the city, and the mayor can accept it, or the service safety director. However, in the interest of transparency, there is nothing that keeps the council from also accepting it. However, there's no legislation that has to be done or resolution that has to be passed to accept it.
I'm also saying if we do accept this, we can turn around and sell it tomorrow. Put it right out there and sell it tomorrow if we want to.
Is this the proper time for debate on the topic as well?
So actually, when somebody makes a motion and somebody seconds a motion, the floor is open for debate. It's just normally we don't have debate on things. Like every single motion that's made in a second, we could have debate on it.
May I have the floor for a moment?
Yes, Mr. Myers.
My whole answer to that, though, is that there's still been no plan given as to how we're going to handle any and all expenses. And if, to your comment, that we could put it back up for sale the next day, then I believe the mayor needs to get a for sale sign.
At this point in time, I'd like to pass the gavel to the pro tem so I can debate on this matter. So once, if the city were to accept this property and own the property, we could then go out and start seeking grants. We can't go out and start seeking grants now because we don't have the property. So I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Myers, that we shouldn't be expending funds to do all of that demolition and stuff, but at least give the city and the administration the ability to have this thing under their control where they can go start submitting grants. It might take a couple of years. It might take 5 years for a grant to come through. We could talk to Senator Bill Reineke and he might be able to put something in one of the Senate bills or something and get us some money. It's kind of what happened with the Home City Ice property, and they got the $400,000 easily to tear that down. And I believe we can secure grants for this. And if we can't, we could turn around and sell it and make money as the city. We could do that. That's the end of my debate.
Do I have a motion to return the gavel to the president?
Wait, I have a question for that. So we don't have money, but owning this and having it yet another thing cost the city more money with no guarantee we can get a grant anytime soon. No guarantee we'd get a grant that would cover everything. I have yet to see one that covers 100%. And no plan in action as to what we're going to do with the extra it costs us or how we're going to handle things. But maybe we might be able to sell it.
Hey, real estate is...
That's a whole lot of ands and questions and buts, and an area where we're getting yelled at because we have no money.
But
We're behind already.
But this real estate has value, and even if we do nothing with it, you could hold it for 5 years and turn around and sell it and make money. We have no cost in it. Yeah, come up here.
That was my decision.
Robert Taylor, 411 Plymouth. I agree with Kevin and Aaron. Like, how much money are we going to be paying until you get grants or you sell it or you tear it down or whatever you're doing? But then, for me, looking at the future, I mean, does this pretty much tie the city into expanding the fire department EMS now?
No, absolutely.
I mean, if you're buying property, I mean, is that not the intent of the property, though? Was that not what the mayor's intent was?
Can I ask you to clarify what you mean by expanding? Are you
Well,
talking
I mean,
the physical layout, or are you talking?
Yeah, new building and all that, because that's what he talked about a few weeks ago, correct? That it's crowded up there, and I have a solution for a crowded building. You cut staffing. You don't build new buildings in this type of environment that we're in financially. It does not make sense. So, and that's where I'm going with this down the road. If you buy more property right beside existing property you own, are you setting it up that now we're going to be building a new building? I think you are, and I think it's the wrong way to go about this. I think one of the first things we need to be doing is cutting costs. not adding cost and taking on a free property, no matter how much you think it's worth, or you can sell it. The initial thing you're gonna do is you're gonna add more cost to the city, and we just can't afford it. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Thitoff, since I'm allowed to make that decision.
Ray Thitoff, 210 Ethel Street. I think what Aaron is thinking, probably the same thing I'm thinking, is the city going to be liable to insure this building, to provide electricity to this building, water, heat, until all this goes through, or until we decide to sell it, or to whatever we decide to do with it. The city's going to have to cover insurance-wise, right? And no one's looked into how much insurance costs. There's no plan, like Mr. Meyer said. You might want to wait. Have you seen the asbestos report?
They've got a report, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
You guys have seen it? Okay.
Just for the record, I did ask when this first came up for those costs, and we've not been provided any of the costs as far as insurance. And I've not seen any heating or electric or any.
That's what I'm saying. Before you accept it officially, I think you should go like Mr. Meyer said and just wait till you get some more numbers back. Thank you.
So I don't get it. It's a gift. It's a building. And you turn it down. It's like, here's $100,000.
115.
Or 115. Do you want it? You can do anything you want to with it. It's yours. There's no stipulations on it. But here it is. Do you want it?
No, it's not.
I've never lost money on property.
You might not have, I guarantee the city can buy it.
Can I have a motion to return the gavel to the president?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
So that was a motion by me and a second by Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't state that. I
I just
think
figured for the
Miranda saw
record,
it.
it might be helpful.
I have a comment. When you're talking about legislation, it's not necessary to accept a donation. Again, without having my files available to me, I'm wanting to recall when I worked for the law director, former law directors, that we had legislation accepting the Michalak property that they donated to the city. I mean, I could just envision myself typing
That's
that
correct. You did.
piece of legislation.
We did.
Were they given a tax credit, though, for the donation?
Very well could be, but
That might be why that had legislation, because this situation, there's no
I
tax
don't
credit.
think the legislation, if I may, I don't think the legislation would have anything to do with the tax credit. I believe the transfer of the deed that lists its value would be where the tax credit would come from. I don't think the legislation makes or breaks that.
Correct. We're not required to go through resolutions or legislations for it.
They might have unnecessarily done legislation with the Michaelic property. Any other discussion?
Do you recall, I know because we had talked about during the donation portion previously with this, with the letter, was it the Totters, the PAR building? And I think you were the law clerk then.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember we did
Totters.
legislation?
Ooh, you know, for some reason, I want to think there wasn't any legislation on that, because I was doing some checking before, when that subject came up on another matter, and I don't even think we handled even any of the legal paperwork. That was all done by Pete's attorney. But like I say, I'm saying that off the top of my head. I mean, you know, I haven't been a law clerk since 2016, so
Now,
it's been a while.
the short answer is we don't need legislation or resolutions to do it.
Okay.
But if you would like the long answer, I can do that. It'll have to wait until the next council meeting, but I can do the long answer.
We don't need a long.
No, I don't want a 15-page another answer.
30 minutes is too long.
Okay.
So if we accept it, we give future council and future administration options. Without it, we don't have options for the future. That's something we need to consider. We're not accepting it for ourselves. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the future
Now, we're also asking to spend a lot of the city's money potentially for the future.
Well, and if those, and things that cost more than 75,000, they would be required to come to council and advertise for bids. So council does have a way to
Does that
stop.
include the annual electric costs? Does that include the insurance costs for that building to be added on to our existing insurance bill? There's a lot of costs that nobody's thinking about talking about.
There again, it depends what we want to do to the building. If we don't,
There's nothing that says you have to put insurance on a building.
or you have to have electric in it, or
We absolutely would have to at least have liability insurance on it.
I don't have insurance on 616 Prospect.
And if somebody gets hurt there, you're liable.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'll put it in a Shell LLC.
You shouldn't advertise that.
Wow.
I think we should get it so we can open the door to getting grants. They might just tear it down and leave it as an empty parking lot. Never add on to it.
Well, there's a motion on the floor to vote.
Well, before we do that, I know that Chief Schwimley's not here, but do remember that he came up and said that he wanted it as it's next door to the fire department. I think that's the only thing that needs to be brought up, is that the fire department did ask for it.
We did have letters of endorsement from the fire union and the fire chief. And now we have an opportunity to get it with no spending of money.
And I still say we need to have a plan brought to us, telling us what that insurance is going to cost, what the other bills are going to be, because we are really on that line. You didn't want to give people raises, but you want to take a piece of property that could cost us more than those raises.
You could turn around and sell the property and pay somebody's salary for a year.
If it sells.
I believe the
How
mayor
long
could get
was
a
it
for
on
sale
the
sign
market?
and make a cash donation if that's his concern.
I just want to make clear you couldn't sell a property and then use it for a salary. Sorry,
No,
just saying.
I'm just saying, we're worried about that.
Yes, yes.
We don't have that money, so how do we suddenly have this money? Like,
No, I just didn't want
money-
the
no,
public to have
money, yeah.
misinformation.
We could sell it and pay for the roof on this building.
It was bought for a little over 100,000 and the roof's 400,000?
part of the roof.
Part of the
You,
roof.
thank you, okay.
That's
Let's not-
100,000 we don't have, but, all right.
Yes.
Are we, right that off 210 Ethel Street, are we accepting this for the fire department, or are we selling it? What are we doing?
We don't know.
There's not a plan.
No plan.
There's no plan.
Yeah.
One minute I hear we're selling it to make money to put a roof on, and then I'm hearing Chief Schwimley wants it for the fire department.
That's not up to us, that's up to administration.
It would be up to the Public Lands and Buildings Committee, but my feeling is that the people that are saying that we could turn around and sell it are just, again, giving an option for the people that are not in favor of accepting it.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think it's an option for us. It's an option for future.
We could hold it for 5 years and sell grants for 5 years. I think you can get the grant. If they could get 400,000 to tear that Home City ice down, there's gotta be a grant out there. Jennifer Jeanette's finding grants for us all the time. You know,
Whose name was at Home City Ice when the grant was obtained? It wasn't the
It wasn't
city's.
even in the
That's
city's
private.
name.
That's my point.
Still not the city's name.
It's in an LLC now. That LLC can apply for the grants.
If a private LLC can get a grant to tear down a $400,000 building, I am certain
Then I
that
think,
the city can get it.
I think the private LLC can get the grant now and give us a blank piece of land later.
Mr. Beeman. Mr. Beeman.
Yeah, just a message I got from someone. No one has looked at what the ADA will cost them on top of all the other stuff. The building will have to be brought up to code once they start any
Nah,
modifications.
it's only if you get occupancy permit for it.
Okay.
If you intend to open it up as a new retail thing, but if you just let it set, you don't have to do all that.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know if that was something Ray brought up or not.
I would accept it. If it was being offered to me, I would accept it.
You also said that if it was for sale and the city didn't buy it, you were gonna be the first one to buy it, and I did not see you do that, so please stop this.
I'm ready to have a vote, unless anybody has any other discussion. I'm ready to have a roll call vote.
Myers?
No.
DeShawn?
No.
Moritz?
Yes.
I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. Sharman is absent, Moritz was a yes. Sherrick?
No.
Hickman?
No.
Me.
Yes.
So we have 4 no votes and we have 2 yes votes, so it fails due to not having enough votes to pass. Any other old and unfinished business?
Hi. Question about the vote, if I may?
Yes.
Probably to the law director. What do we have
What's
to
up?
do to keep this from continuing to be brought back up? How do we state the obvious that we have said no to this?
As long as it gets brought up procedurally, there's really nothing you can do to not have it be brought up.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
because we have asked specifically for information, and none of that's been brought in. Nobody's brought in what it's gonna cost the city if we take it. Even if it's until we get a grant or until we do this, there's been none of this information brought in. So is there a way to stop it? Because procedurally, we are asking for this and we're not getting it.
No, as long as it's brought up properly from a procedural standpoint, you can't stop it from being brought up.
So what information do you want? You want insurance?
I did get a text from Lisa Stuckman and she said something about the insurance. She got an email last week. She's gonna check tomorrow.
So we can winterize it?
I don't see why you couldn't winterize it. Just done all that part of it.
Any other old and unfinished business?
Just remember Ponderosa was also winterized.
No other old and unfinished business. I'm gonna move on to new and miscellaneous business. I'm seeing no new and miscellaneous business. Does anybody want to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Shireman? Hearing no motion to excuse Mrs. Shireman is unexcused, for the record. Referrals.
May
Oh,
I?
well, Mrs. DeShawn.
If I may say something, please?
Yes.
I did check with the auditor before our meeting tonight, and she's informed me that she has not received an email from you on Mrs. Shireman's February, is it February 4th? Yeah, her absence from the February 4th regular council meeting, your email, which sets forth having, her pay reduced by the 2%. So I'm thinking to keep on top of everything.
When's the next pay period, Ms. Lewis?
The end of February is typically when Kim does yours.
Is there still time to get the next deduction in?
I believe so.
So if I get to you by the end of this week, it's still good?
Checking the date, sorry, absent-minded.
Hers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So then, you'll be sending an email for both the unexcused absence from the February 4th regular council meeting, as well as the unexcused absence from tonight's meeting.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Referrals.
We have the criminal ordinance package to health and safety, and then the waterworks fund to service and finance.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we are adjourned at 8:09 PM.